guys, welcome back to another episode of the Physiology Secrets podcast. Been a long time between drinks, so to speak, but joined today with at least was it a 1.5 metre? Close enough to a 1.5 metre distance with Nick and Tyler. So look, we want to get a couple of podcasts out before we all go into isolation. I think it's inevitable it's going to happen. And today, to launch things off, we want to talk about virtual racing. So I'm not really that familiar with Zwift, but there's heaps of users on it at the moment, isn't there? Like heaps. Is that right?
I think prior to our social distancing and things closing down, typically, I don't know, 1,000 to 2,000 people on. Yeah. I think I've heard reports of jumping on.
I saw 24,000.
Yeah, I heard 15,000, 20,000, things like that. So
you can't buy a smart trainer at any bike shop.
Spain and Italy are on full lockdown, so I've heard read articles on massive fines for people that tried to go out for a ride after that. So I think, especially some of those European countries, everyone's locked in.
Yeah. Yeah, you literally can't, like I see on social media that everyone's trying to buy smart trainers and there's literally, and I think I saw Tax actually, they put out a statement saying, we can't, like we've closed down our online store because it's back orders and there's something to do with them getting stuck in China or something. I think.
Well, that's the thing. A lot of stock, even the gym equipment people are trying to get, it's all coming from China. It's all been locked down, so it's impossible.
Everyone's getting prepared. So I thought we'd just jump on and have a chat about virtual racing with some Zwift and Trainer Road and all those other platforms, but specifically talking about the upcoming. It's already been announced. The upcoming concept of Ironman virtual racing.
We've got a name. We don't have much more than that, but something's happening.
So we thought we'd just jump on, pretty much speculate as much as we can. Let's figure out if it goes ahead, how is it going to look?
What's it going to look
like?
What
does it mean? How are you going to swim? Are you going to have a run component? It's fairly straightforward that you can get a bike component in there. So I guess let's just jump in it. There's no plan for this podcast. We're just going to chat about what we think would happen. So I guess the first question is it going to be a swim, bike and run?
Oh, it's not going to be a swim.
No.
I think Ironman's goal in most of what they do, and AWA is a perfect example, is, they are first and foremost a business, so there is numbers, more people, right? With that, they reward more racing through AWA, they want more people in their races, so something like swimming is going to be super restrictive to who can get involved. Like the only way with pools closed, if we do go full lockdown, is the very few people that have some sort of endless spa, or so. I would say no. And I would argue that the running is going to be fairly restrictive as well. So I'd imagine there will be a run component because Ironman is a triathlon company. But I would guess, not knowing again, that if you can't run, you could still get involved. I'm tipping that if you can cycle indoors with some sort of power, some sort of smart trainer, there will be avenues for you to be involved in Ironman VR. That is a guess. Don't take that as gospel by any means. We have no idea, but I think it's very restrictive if you have to have a smart treadmill or a run pod, which are becoming more common but are still fairly uncommon, I guess, in the general population.
Yeah, I mean, so what they're obviously trying to do is they're basically trying to compete with Zwift and or at least maintain their business, because there's obviously no races coming up. They want engagement, and also they're giving out, as far as I'm aware, it sounds like they're giving out world qualifier slots, because again, at the end of the day, they are a business, and I think it's quite a good incentive to get people onto their platform if you can qualify for a world championship spot.
Yeah, it says on. I just got the email up here that they sent initially. It says on here like there's a thing with like earning points to redeem valuable rewards, and if you scroll through, they're giving away obviously some additional perks. So who knows what that is? But yeah, with the world championship slots potentially on the line, it's probably a bit of a different way of getting there, but I guess for some people it's probably going to be a really sort of handy thing to make a world championships in a different format. So it'd be interesting how they set it up.
Oh, yeah, I reckon I was wondering in my head now, would it be a case of to qualify? To be eligible to qualify for a world championship, you must have raced that Ironman distance within the last 12 months or 24 months, and then it's just a bike race, and then they just compare that time to your previous best time, and then scale your swim and your run accordingly, and that's a reasonably level playing field, like that. Maybe something like that.
Who knows? It's going to be, like they've said, a pro challenge. So it sounds like they're going to have professional races.
Yeah, men's and women's Ironman virtual VR pro challenge.
For which I guess is, I presume maybe that's going to help fill up our pro field. If we do get a world championship race, go ahead. But that's going to drive engagement. People are going to want to watch that, see how it works. And then they've said weekly races and challenges. Now, my speculation is that the challenges are going to be more of a participation base.
Yep.
Like it might be log 10 hours of cycling and 3 hours of running. And once you do that, potentially you go into a draw for a slot. Perhaps it sounds like there is racing, so we know Ironman have had a long history of struggling to get an online tracker working for their races. So if they've managed to get a viable online racing system up and going,
maybe
we'll see.
Yeah.
But yeah, we were also saying, is there going to be some partnership with Zwift?
Maybe from a platform perspective.
I can't see why Zwift would need it.
Yeah.
Like I think people that go and do some Ironman VR are probably still going to ride Zwift. I think
probably. Besides
the slots and the bonuses, unless it's very good, Zwift has basically covered all bases from what it's got. Engagement, it's got racing, it's got customised workouts, it's got training plans, it's got different worlds. I think that would be a very tough ask to come up now and go against Zwift, which is so established. And I think if you didn't have those world slots and those up, you wouldn't have a chance. So the world slots is definitely a good carrot for people to chase with that.
On that note, slots relatable but a little bit off centre as well. I saw an announcement, I reckon 2 or 3 days ago, that Zwift actually are scaling back their software side of the business. Like they actually cut jobs on the software side to focus on the hardware side. So like you can imagine smart treadmills, actually like smart bikes as opposed to...
They brought out that like tax bike.
Yeah, exactly. Well, why go give tax and Wahoo money when they can create their own ones and literally do a virtual, maybe not triathlon, but at least duathlon bike run. Interesting to see where it goes.
Standardised power ratings as well, at least if it's their hardware, you get some.
Yep.
We had an athlete in recently struggle with power ratings for Zwift racing and it being inconsistent with what Zwift wanted and things like that as well. So
to eventually get it certified,
to have an actual device that, this is our device. I know they've had a long running thing with Wahoo, haven't they? Zwift, pretty sort of well aligned with Wahoo.
I think initially, but I think now it's
kind of
they've
open.
got tax kits, so all the big manufacturers have got some sort of stake in Zwift in that you hook your knee up and you get access to the tax kit, and you hook your kicker up and you get access to the Wahoo kit. And
What do you think about like if they actually ran a 70.3 on virtual platform? How do you reckon? Well, I know we're talking about it a little bit before. Like obviously swim's gonna be difficult, but like let's say for example the athletes who do have a treadmill at home with a foot pod or whatever, and they've got a smart trainer. Advantages, disadvantages to racing compared to a race out on the road?
Yeah, I really like the online racing as a training platform. I think Zwift has done a really good job, and I think Ironman could do it too. I think when you start awarding prizes, especially in a large scale, it's difficult to verify what everyone's doing. Different trainers, and then I think the treadmill becomes an even bigger issue. I've seen people talk about calibrating those foot pods in different ways that get them much faster running paces. Do you have to have a foot pod? If you've got a Bluetooth treadmill, I don't know how they work, and can you just set that at 15 kilometres an hour and then sit on the couch and have that run away while your Ironman VR guy is running 4-minute pace through his 21K. So and when you are giving away world spots, people will definitely cheat when they're able to. We know doping has been an issue in pro sport and whatever. I'm not sure if it's an issue in age group racing, but if you can do it in the comfort of your own home, people will take advantage of any loopholes they can find for those spots. So
and what's the foot pod measuring? Is it vertical force? Is it horizontal force? Is it both?
The cadence.
Like can I just let my treadmill go at 15 k's an hour and just jump directly up and down and get maximum vertical force? So it's saying, hey, my wattage is really high. Because I imagine it. I don't know actually. I can't imagine it be. We'll have to look that up. But I know Stride's probably the most one that people are most familiar with, and I personally haven't used it. But it's a vertical force, a horizontal force. It's not going to take and get your running economy. Obviously, if you do it properly and you actually,
and I think that's probably an example.
An honesty system, then sure.
But I guess
the point is, Talking about reliability, being able to get a level playing field, especially if you're giving out world qualifying spots, you'd be pretty pissed if somebody's just cheating and you're doing the hard yards. I guess moving on to the bike, which is a little bit where we are technologically now, a little bit. We're already there. The online racing, virtual racing on the bike is pretty
well
straightforward.
established. Yeah.
Most people have access to, a lot of people have access to smart trainers. Chuck your bike on there, and it's all pretty automated. So I guess from that perspective, like we've been chatting about it offline a little bit between ourselves, like talking about the difference. To start with, like a road bike versus a time trial bike, and how that might affect things.
Taking out like the fact that, is any of this software, if you're going to be racing on a road bike, is any of this software going to take into account aerodynamics, what your position's like on a time trial bike, things like that? If not, I mean, Tyler, you can probably attest to this a little bit more than most of us doing most of the training at the moment, but like, how much power are you going to be able to put out more on a road bike setup than a time trial position, sustainability?
Yes. If I'm
having nutrition next to you,
comfort. If I'm using online platforms for training, then I'll try to ride my TT bike in my TT position. But if I was going to do that for a race benefit, where it's simply going to be watts per kilogram, basically, then I'll 100% have my road bike on there for all that comfort, sustainability. You know, even heat in that environment. You're sitting upright with your chest open, you've got a fan on, you're getting a lot more airflow than if you are tucked up in your TT position. I guess where it could be a positive is that an athlete that may not have the financial means to buy a brand new P5 disc with an 808 and a Super 9 disc and whatever else. Again, we can't verify everything, but equipment's now not an issue. So in terms of simple fitness, and if we are bringing it all the way back to watts per kilo, that I guess could even the playing field from some aspect.
From a budget perspective, travelling to events is a big obviously cost for a lot of athletes as well. You take that factor out, and can they invest more time and effort into their training side of things?
But on that point as well, like I think more people would have a road bike than a TT bike if you've got one or the other. So that's going to widen the playing field. And as you said, it should just be, it shouldn't be who's got the most money to spend on aerodynamics and all that sort of stuff. Position shoring up, the best aero helmet. Exactly. All the performance enhancing technology, and there's heaps of it out there.
Oval chain
then I think it's a good idea. Like most people would go on a bike, especially if you don't have to run off it, because you're in a more stable position. Like you're literally more stable. Like your principle of stability, you're more stable. You can produce more power, and you're more comfortable anyway because you're upright. And I think that's a really interesting point. You could argue that so long as the trainer that you're using, obviously Tax will be a little bit different to Wahoo, will be a little bit different to Garmin Vector pedals, or however you're measuring your power. That's where it's a bit tricky because power meters do fluctuate a little bit. But if you can get something on a level playing field, I'd argue it's actually more fair. More fair in a sense of who is the fittest. But then you do need to take into account, hey, look, it's not just about watts per kilo. The smaller you are, the more aerodynamic. And most of the time, especially when you're going over, I think it's about, if you're going over about 14 k's an hour, all that power is really just getting across that wind resistance. So it is really, aerodynamics is really, really important. Yeah,
there is endless avenues to discuss in this conversation, which, and again, if there's no reasonable prizes, then I'm personally not too worried about it. If someone does want to cheat to win a Zwift race,
good on them.
Good on them. If there is prizes up for grabs, then it can be frustrating. You could take out the skill of being able to pace the bike by presetting your trainer to whatever it is, 240 watts, and now you just sit there and you just pedal
in erg mode,
in erg mode at what you can do. You don't run the risk of overworking the hills. You still push the same on the downhills, and if you are, so that becomes a real.
Who's got the highest FTP?
Yeah, robotic almost. Just whatever, if you can do things like that. So who knows? Well, 1st of April, I think we find out some more details how it's going to work.
I think an interesting part of it we talked about as well was if everything was equal across the board, you're sitting on your trainer, how beneficial is it to have a fan next to you, a table set up with all your nutrition on it? You're not having to worry about carrying it or picking up on course. It's just, I've got 4 bottles lined up, as many gels as I need, bars, whatever.
You be really disciplined in eating and drinking in the cycle you want to maintain, which can be hard out on the road.
Guys who might train with headphones in, 90Ks with headphones in if you're more motivated that way. Obviously, you can't take them on course, but if you're on a trainer,
set your playlist up to keep you going at the end.
A whole bunch of advantages.
Well, let's break it all down. So let's start with nutrition. Because realistically, most people are restricted to gels or drinks, maybe a bar. But it's tricky. As you got to carry your own nutrition. But you could have gastric upset is a massive issue for the majority of athletes over a long course, or at least a 70.3. So you could have bananas, you could have white jam sandwiches, you could have fruit, you could have whatever you want. Is what I'm saying. I know my stuff, gels, I can get through a 70.3, and I need to find the toilet straight after. It's right on the limit. But a lot of people can't use gels, so you could really be strategic with what you eat, and you could practice that now in preparation for whenever it comes out. Just as that's going to be super beneficial from a drink perspective. You're right. You'd have them lined up. You'd have your timer set to make sure you're going. I mean, if you've done like a sweat test with us, for example, you'll know what your sweat rate is, and you know your sodium loss, and you just do the math, and you set up the drink bottles, and away you go. And then you talk about temperature and stuff, like obviously air conditioning, but most people just have like a little crappy fan. We've got an industrial one, so do you have an industrial fan? What's your air conditioning like? What part of the world are you in? It's still going to be humid. If you're in Malaysia, it's going to be humid. You're going to sweat more, you dehydrate more, versus if you're over here, you don't. There are elements that probably make it a more level playing field, like, hey, what is your power output or your watts per kilo? But then you've got nutrition, you've got the climate, you've got the time of day. Is it live racing? Are you doing it at 3 a.m. if you're over in Switzerland, and then you're doing it at 6 p.m. over here, whatever it is? So,
for athletes who race better first thing in the morning, or even something as simple as like you're not having to get up necessarily an hour and a half, 2 hours before the race at 5 a.m. to start racing at 6:30. It's like you could wake up at 6 for a 6:30 race start and still be good to go. Extra sleep, is that going to impact it? Less stress. Don't have to worry about your tyres exploding in transition the night before. And
you take out transition completely, I imagine. There's so many things you could talk about. So we've covered off, it's basically coming back to right the way day number one, the 7 core components of endurance success. You've got, all right, you're as fit as you are, so your VO2 max, the FTP or your velocity at threshold, and your economy, like they're sort of, you're not going to be able to change them too much. So long as you don't cheat, that's it. Right? So then you've got heat load, dehydration. Then you say who's got the best fan, who's got the best air conditioning. You can obviously...
Ice vest or something.
Great shout. You can put an ice vest on. You can eat ice slushies to cool your core body temperature down.
Even playing around like temperature.
Take your shirt off.
Temperature drink bottles and...
lots of things you can do. Pre-cooling and set yourself up next to a fridge or a freezer, and you got to chuck a new ice vest on.
Whoever's home with you at the same time can just
outside help or
hose over the top.
Out to the missus or your partner.
Bring the next frozen drink over.
Get it over. Ice slushies are really good. Owen can attest to that. He's behind the camera. Hey mate, loves his ice slushies. So these are all proven ergogenic aids to. I've been talking to you guys about it as well. Trying to think, how can we get ice vests in T2 to put onto the run? Like, how can you keep it cold enough through the first 3 hours if you're doing a 70.3 or the 6 hours, whatever,
that back in,
and then just chuck on an ice vest. It's still cold to cool you down, and you know yourself struggle in hot climates. How good would it be just to have something that's nice and cold?
I reckon those like those ice packs that you just like crack, those first aid kit ones.
Exactly.
I reckon they'd be a goer to test out at least. Like depending on how long they last, but is that something that you could have and how much time do you want to give up on course, but is that something you could have in a special needs bag? You pick up middle of the course so you don't have to carry it with you, crack it, bang in the shoulders, it gives you 10, 15 minutes of relief, cools you down a bit, get rid of it, and then pick the next one up in transition. And
lots
potentially
of
a big advantage.
So heat, low stress, dehydration, covered that, and then you go into things like you said psychology, like music versus no music. That could be really beneficial. Recovery is whatever it is. You just you're a bit more recovered because you got more sleep, and then nutrition is what it is. You know, you can have your tailored nutrition. So it pretty much it'd be really interesting to see how it goes. And I think in this time of crisis, which is obviously terrible for a lot of people and terrible for businesses and all the rest, but a silver lining is that technology, everyone's going to realise now that technology is super important. Have to adapt. How can we use it? How can we still train when we are in lockdown or isolation, or at least restricted in what we can do? And the next podcast we're going to record is going to be about periodisation for the Olympics, which is a whole new. well, we don't know when the date is, but I'm meant to be fit in what? Is it 4 months' time, and now it's going to be 16 months' time.
Next year, yeah.
And there's a fair chance they're going to have to do indoor training for the
not compete
future and not compete.
Minimal racing.
So technology is everything. It's really, really interesting to see where we go. I think Zwift are going to revolutionise it, particularly if they're focusing on hardware. Like you could literally have virtual racing. That will be the go-to virtual racing platform. You're going to start, going to have Zwift World Championships one day, or virtual racing World Championships, and Ironman. Possibilities are endless.
It's already going that way, and I don't know if you've seen, a bit off topic, but motorsport, like F1 racing and stuff are all in simulators already, trying to keep their seasons alive, racing that way. It's like, you imagine if Zwift gets on board that sort of side of things, get a few pro teams involved from a cycling perspective, but some pros on there.
Mitchelton are hosting rides every day at the moment, doing their training sessions publicly.
Frodeno's been jumping on a lot and inviting people on rides. So
that's good, and that's good for the sport itself. Like you're riding with the pros virtually. That's pretty cool. So it's good for engagement. Anything else? Have you?
I don't think so.
I guess we'll come back in 5 days and. Once we know how Ironmans will work, we might be able to
give a bit of an update.
Give our views on what they're doing.
Basically, the goal of the day, guys, was just to really just chat some rubbish. To be fair, but talk about the science behind if this happened. What are the implications? How do we keep it a level playing field? How can you get advantages through using science? Your nutrition, your ergogenic age, all that sort of stuff. So if you have any questions, please post them below, because we will do another podcast once we know more about this. Otherwise, as I said in an email, if you already subscribed to our platform, we're going to start ramping these out. We aim for 3 podcasts a week. Have you seen Monday, Wednesday, Friday?
A couple of times a week, but we're trying it three a week out across all platforms. So Apple is normal, Podbean, YouTube, Facebook. Wherever you like watching it or listening to it.
We're obviously anticipating that everyone's going to have a fair bit of free time on their hands and at least want to consume some content. And if you're stuck on your indoor trainer, it's good to jump on the podcast, get some helpful tips. So we're ramping up the content. Please support us by sharing it, commenting, asking questions always helps. We've got a list of about 6 or 7 topics, but then we're going to run out and have to think hard. So if you have any questions, please post them below. Share it with your friends, and we'll speak to you next time.